Hi everyone, good morning. It's Margaret Manning here. Welcome to 60 and Me. Welcome to a brand new day of your life. Hope you're doing great this morning, having a wonderful day so far. I am up bright and early and I'm really enjoying this nice cooler weather. It's fantastic. I really love autumn. I don't know, what's your favorite season? As we move into autumn, I really enjoy the cooler days and evenings. And yeah, it just seems like it's a more atmospheric time of the year. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the summer too. I love every day of the year, but I do love summer as well. But anyway, I hope that you're doing great and the weather's okay where you are, that you're able to get out and about and enjoy the day. So I've got my morning tea. I dug into my Celestial Seasonings box today. Remember I told you I picked up this box of tea when I was traveling, and it's really for me like a walk down memory lane because Celestial Seasonings tea was in Boulder, Colorado, or I think it was started there, and I used to love the place and the teas of all their teas. Sleepy Time was my favorite, but this is peppermint. So I've got a cup of peppermint tea this morning, and it's a nice tea. I'm not such a big person on mints, but I do like their peppermint. It's not overwhelming, very tasty. Anyway, I hope you've got a cup of tea or coffee, and we can sit down and have a chat today about food. That's what I'd like to talk to you about today, about food and just how we can take it into our lives if we're living alone and still cooking at home, not stopping off at the restaurants every night. But anyway, do you cook at home? Are you still preparing meals in your kitchen for yourself or for your family if you have people around you? Well, I must admit, I'm not the biggest cook in the world. If you ask my sons, they will tell you that I did a pretty mean tuna melt. I wasn't too bad with scrambled eggs, and I got better with smoothies as time went on. But honestly, I was, of course, one of these people that didn't have a lot of education about cooking. My mom wasn't able to teach me. She died quite young, and I wasn't able to learn from her. But I do now. I'm starting to get more into cooking and enjoying putting things together in a healthy way. So it's kind of a relevant topic for me. Now, my son is a chef. One of my sons is actually a chef, and he prepares amazing meals every time we get together. I look forward to his meals, but from my own perspective, I'm kind of struggling. So I read this article by one of our bloggers, Lois Crawford. And Carter Crawford, and she gives us 7 kind of reasons to keep cooking at healthy meals at home in our 60s. And I think she makes some great points. And of course, I think they're all points that we know. And, but it's nice to be reminded of the things that we can do. By the way, I just made myself a note here to remind you about Marks and Spencer's, who lives in the UK. Oh my goodness, that I'm so happy in some ways I'm not in the UK now because that was my go-to place in the evening after coming home from work or an appointment or just being out. Oh, I'm too tired to cook. I'll just stop by Marks and Spencer's, and they have this amazing selection of home cooking. You buy pre-made meals. You can buy salads, or you can buy actually proper, 3-course meals. Yeah, they're glorified TV dinners. Let's face it, but they're really good. But I'm not there anymore in the UK all the time, so I'm not tempted by Marks and Spencer's. But anyway, the first thing, of course, that Lois mentions is it's cheaper. It helps you to keep on a budget. And the truth is that if you, kind of warm this morning, if you actually shop in a restaurant or eat in a restaurant, you are going to pay more because they just obviously have to make money. They have to pay their staff, and it's just the way it goes. But if you buy the foods in a market yourself and then cook nutritious meals at home, it's really great. Not only can you get the local tastes and foods that are fresh and good for you, but they're actually local, and so they're in abundance and they're less expensive. So keeping that in mind, especially in the winter months, you can make a really nice soup for very little. I mean, like lentils, onions, carrots, and a can of diced tomatoes. You actually have a beautiful lentil soup. And you can buy some nice bread or rolls and, yes, in moderation. And, you can actually enjoy a really lovely lentil soup for, $4 a serving or less. So I think that's really important to shop local and save money, number one. Number two is, of course, watching your waste, watching your calories, because when you go into a restaurant or even buy pre-packaged food, you don't know what's been put into it. And as we've talked about before, there's lots of ways to hide sugar and salt into pre-packaged food, partly to preserve it. But it's, so it's much better if you, for your own waistline and for your own health, if you can actually keep it in your control. Yes, I mean, I always do read the nutritional labels on things I buy, but it's not always the best way to really get a handle on what you're putting into your body. And of course, restaurants are famous for big servings, especially in the States. And of course, that's not a good thing for your body. And you sometimes feel guilty if you don't eat it all. Are you one of those people? I do that all the time. But anyway, you know that you can get your serving size and everything under control and keep your calories moderated. Another thing is to find, another point is that you find better quality food. Now, I've mentioned this before here in Switzerland because here our markets are very, very geared to what's local. So you'll go one day to the market and there'll be like a huge pile of plums or or strawberries or something that have just been picked. So those kinds of things are not preserved. They're really healthy for you, and you can just fill yourself up with great quality food. And of course, not everyone, but many people are sensitive to the pesticides that are sprayed onto foods in the production of food. And if you want to be conscious of that, and you really don't want to buy organic or have to search for it all the time when you eat in a restaurant or cafe, then just buy the ones at home that come from a local farmer, a local market. And you can. Another point that she makes here, which I'm looking at my notes, is just only buy foods that you can pronounce. I think that's really a cool thing. Anything that you can't spell the word or you can't pronounce the word, it probably isn't good for you. I mean, colorings and flavors, they're all added to sell product. That's what the name of the game is. So be aware of that. Farm to table, big trend right now. Cooking things are coming from the garden to the table. This is what my son cooks where he is. They basically use a lot of the food that's grown locally and just work with what you have. Work with what's available. And that farm to table is a very big trend in very fancy restaurants these days as well. So if you watch that show, by the way, on TV called Chef's Table, it's really good. It's on Netflix, and I actually love it. I've watched several episodes, and one of them is a feature of a chef who specializes in cooking what's available. Like he sends people out in the morning to the fields and says, bring back what's there. And then he looks at it and says, well, what are we going to do with rutabagas today? Or, whatever. And he does his cooking based on what's available. It's really, really interesting technique. Another thing, of course, what's related is improved nutrition. And we've talked about how sugar and salt can sneak their way into your food when it's in a processed environment. And this is a good way to control that if you cook at home by yourself and cook using your own food or food that you've bought. Another thing, of course, and it's related, is better health is another great reason to cook at home. As I said, you can watch you can read the nutrition labels, you can do all this that you want in the shops, but when you get them home and you're looking at a red pepper or you're looking at a carrot, you know that that's what you're going to get. So cook, and you can be creative too. That's another thing. You can try creativity when you're cooking by yourself. We've written a couple of articles, our bloggers have, I should say, about using flowers in salads. Those edible plants, edible flowers that you can put on your salad and you can put into other foods. And, so using different colors and textures and flavors, you can experiment. One thing that I do, for example, is when after dinner, I always kind of want a little sweet or craving of something. And sometimes I have a bit of chocolate, but sometimes I look in the fridge and it's like, yogurt. Yogurt's kind of boring if it's just, and I like plain yogurt, so I buy just plain. And I think, if I put some turmeric and a little bit of lemon, maybe a little bit of ginger, stir it up, you've transformed your white plain yogurt into this beautiful yellow, tasty, healthy dessert. And it does. If you put it in a bowl with a couple of little raspberries or blueberries on the top, it actually looks like a nice, healthy, fun dessert. So combine new things, combine spices, put curry in your scrambled eggs, chili peppers, try different things that you haven't tried before. See how it goes. And then the final thing that she talks about is the idea of socialization. You know, when you cook for yourself, take some over to the neighbors or invite a friend to come over and join you for lunch or dinner. You know, if you know, no one's available to cook, I used to sit down at my computer and eat. You know, just have the bowl there or the plate and just eat while I was working or looking up Facebook or whatever. And now I stopped that. I actually do move to a table, which is part of my desk. And I actually put out a napkin and a plate. I light a candle. I just get proper knives and forks, both of them. And I just open the blinds or the windows if they're closed and just look outside and just have a beautiful experience of eating. And one of our bloggers, Lisa Dunkel, has written a lot about this, about how to treat yourself like a millionaire, you know, with just very simple rituals. And so I think that that's important. And, I think that just savoring the meal, making the best of it, looking at, even if it's a very simple dish that you've prepared, is really like important to the whole experience of food. So Lois goes through all these great ideas for, you know, keeping cooking healthy at home and enjoying the process as well. So, hope you found that useful and it's inspired you perhaps for today to go out to the market, buy some local food that's in season. Pumpkins, I suppose, are out there around this time of the year, and squash and all those kinds of cool soupy vegetables. And leave a note below, you know, as to what you're doing with food these days. I mean, do you still cook at home? Do you cook for yourself, even if you're by yourself? And what do you do when you eat alone? Describe the situation that you put yourself in. Describe your environment when you sit down and eat a meal by yourself. I just like to visualize all of you out there today cooking your dinner or buying your dinner. You can go and you can do takeaway, by the way. You know, I'm not judging, and you can certainly pick up stuff at Marks and Spencer's if you're in the UK or Target or wherever in the US. Don't feel that I'm judging you, but just bring home some great food, healthy food. Cook it yourself if you can, and then just sit down and enjoy. And tell us, what do you do when you eat alone? I look forward to reading your comments. I really do. And thank you again for being here, for listening, for being part of this amazing community. Every day I have to pinch myself and thank myself so much for the people that show up, come here every day and add so much to my life and also to each other. It's super important. And thank you. I really appreciate it. So let's keep the conversation going. Tell me what you're doing as you're eating alone tonight, and I'll join the conversation and really look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.